All right, guys, welcome back to Overthink This with me. Today's episode 4, and I am very excited. We have something very special planned for you today. I am interviewing a good friend of mine. Her name is Sarah, and we've actually developed a newer relationship in the last year and a half, and it's been amazing. And I've had the privilege of working with her professionally, but also working with her in coaching. And she actually got to experience the Healing Anxious Attachment live group course. And I have asked her to come and share with us kind of what her journey was before she joined the course, how she realized she might have an anxious attachment style, how it showed up in her marriage, and then her journey through the course itself, and then how she's doing now. So, without further ado, welcome, Sarah. Yay!
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Yay!
I know that we're friends and I'm totally biased, so this is kind of stupid for me to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think you're great.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that I get to be part of what you're doing. So
Yes, I am also super jazzed that you're here. Thank you for taking time to do this. This is amazing.
thrilled.
Yes, fantastic.
No
Okay,
regrets.
not so far. Um, okay, so okay, let's start with that. Sarah, tell us a little bit about you, just as a person. Maybe a little bit of how you and Sean met, that type of thing, if
Yeah.
you want. Whatever you want to hit on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Sarah. I'm in my 30s.
Woo.
I moved to Texas about 10 years ago, and I come from a huge family that is very Christian, very religious, and I have actually wonderful parents, and I'm really thankful for that, and a million siblings. So every time I go visit my family, there's a million relationships to keep up and reach out to and connect with. But I moved to Texas about 10 years ago, or a little bit longer than that actually, to work in ministry and worked at a church for a little over 8 years and had incredible friendships there. Yeah, and then I met Sean. I was dating online. I was doing the dating app thing, and I actually loved it. I had so much fun on dating apps, meeting strangers and paying for tacos and going into all different areas of the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex. And yeah, it helps to have low expectations and high standards. I
Yeah.
found on dating apps. That's the like magic combination to have a great time. Um, and so there's a free tip for you guys out there. But
Wow.
had a great time, and then met Sean, and yeah, he's the best. So I fell in love pretty quick, and um, we got married in 2023 and just celebrated our 2 year anniversary a couple months ago.
Woo,
So
congrats.
thank you, thank you, thank you. He's wonderful. He's magical, and very imperfect, as am I. So it's a great combo. But yeah, so
Yeah.
now I am a creative freelancer. I own my own business and do graphic design and photography and branding and video work and all kinds of things, and specialize in working with small businesses and nonprofits. And yeah, that's kind of me. So I have a husband and a cat and a business and this delicious cup of tea and doing pretty well.
Yes. Love that. I love that. I love all your like dating tips, but also how you met Sean and just that you guys are, it's been what, 2 years? Yeah, you said 2 years. So married 2 years.
Hmm.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. And then your business is awesome. I mean, the shameless plug is, Sarah got to help me in a lot of my professional like business things and brand building and all of that. And she is, I know we're friends, but from a just purely unbiased perspective, Sarah is amazing at taking the time to find out someone's passions and their vision for their business and to really become like a partner for that period of time of working together and making sure that it comes to light, not just looks good, but like actually represents you as a person and what
Yeah.
what your passion is. So you're amazing at that. So
Thank you
yeah.
so much. That's the
Yeah.
dream. I want to be amazing at that. So I'm so glad that
Good.
that's true. So it's good.
Yeah.
I love to do it. I love to do it.
Yes. I love that. Okay. Fantastic. We'll talk more about that at the end, actually. I think we'll come back a little bit, hear a little bit more about it. Okay, so let's dive in. So a little thing, just I believe I've talked about this on the podcast before. If you guys are following me on social media, on my website, you might know, but just a refresher. So I offer one-to-one coaching, where that's more personalized. We're helping you tackle really, you know, I guess things that are happening in your specific life with your specific relationships, your struggles, all of that. But then I also offer a live group course, which is the Healing Anxious Attachment course. And that is the one that Sarah happened to go through. And that one is more of a group setting. You're kind of learning almost in a curriculum based way. And there are 6 sessions, and it's a total of 12 weeks. So every 2 weeks, you're getting on this call with other women. They're in this around the same place as you, wanting the same things as you, wanting to heal the way that they see themselves, the way that they show up in their relationships. And so we go through a certain amount of things in that course together. And then there is a little bit of one on one on the side for additional support for you, and by you, the client, to work one on one together. So just a little refresher on kind of what we cover. So we go over the one on one of anxious attachment. Just what even is that? How does it show up in our lives? Where does it happen? All of that. And like we've discussed in previous episodes, it happens usually in our childhood based on our relationship with our caregivers, even our sibling dynamic, all of that stuff. So we kind of talk about that first and talk about self-awareness and how to recognize that in yourself. And then we go over the science of belief and kind of how we form thoughts and beliefs in the first place and what happens in your brain and your nervous system, all of that stuff, which is, I find, really helpful part of healing anything in your life, is like knowing that it's not just like an idea. It's like literally your body
Mm.
is doing this with you, and also needs to build trust and healing as well. We do some needs and boundaries conversations of like how to validate your own needs, what are boundaries, how to set them, why they're important, things like that. And then we talk about conflict resolution and how to show up in arguments, and
So good.
yeah, which it happens to all of us, but specifically if you're married or if you're with a serious partner or whatever, that comes up a lot. So realizing how you're approaching those conversations, how your partner is approaching it, and how changing yourself can like literally change the whole dynamic. And then we talk about emotional regulation, how to manage your own anxiety, self-soothe, all that stuff. And then we do inner child work a little bit. I know I'm just going through the list, but I want to give everyone an idea of just like what it
Yeah,
is.
because it covers a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a wide-ranging course, and it would, but somehow still you were able, I don't know, I'm gonna just compliment you. I'm gonna interrupt you
Okay.
and compliment the course
Okay.
because it covered so many different topics, but you were still able to kind of in each session pick a spot to like spike and go deep. And, like it was amazing how rich the content was and how helpful and applicable it was, even though you were covering so much over the course of 12 weeks. It was awesome.
Awesome. Phil, thank
Yeah.
you.
I know I
That is,
interrupted. Sorry.
thank you. It's okay. We're both going to do that. It's fine. Um, but it does. That's the idea, because healing in general, there's a lot of layers to it. We can't, you can't just say, hey, you have a problem, get
Mm,
better. It's like, why is that number one, addressing that it's there. Why is it there? The whole like having compassion towards yourself was a really big focus of mine to encourage my clients to do.
yeah.
But yeah, once you have that that changes the game. And after emotional regulation, inner child work, we end with just going over strengths, which actually was a really powerful conversation. I feel like when
Yes.
we were able to talk about how anxious attachment can actually, it has its strengths that show up in our relationships and us as people, and it's a good thing. It's not anything to be hating on yourself for. It actually does have like really positive aspects, which I think is important. So that is what the group course covers, and I'm actually launching the next round of it on September
Mm.
18th, which is a Thursday. So spread the word, but I'm really excited about it. But again, bringing Sarah in specifically, I wanted her to talk about what it was like for her, what it was like for her marriage, and all of that. So let's get into that really quick. So first, Sarah, what made you feel like this was like that something needed to change in the way that you were approaching your relationships?
Yeah, so I was 30-ish, somewhere around there when I got married. and had lived a lot of life single, kind of going about, I don't know, I was telling this to someone the other day that when I was single, I wasn't even good at like knowing for sure what I wanted because I just did whatever I wanted all the time. Like I never had to think too hard about what I wanted and what I wanted to do next and what like, what I felt like because I just lived it without, anyone else's input needed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like my whole 20s, I had like I didn't have any super super significant relationships. I think I broke up with my college boyfriend and I was like 21, 22, and then the rest of the time was single until I met Sean. And so, having gone on dates and stuff, like it never was a serious relationship until then. So I had just lived this like very it was way more isolated than I realized and very self-focused. Even though I was like doing nonprofit work and helping other people, it was still very like I just got to do whatever I wanted. So entering marriage was a huge shift, and one of the big things for me was communication and expectations and times where I've seen this happen so many times. I know everyone has, where you start to see resentment build up in relationships because people aren't getting what they wanted and they're mad at the other person for that. And I wasn't experiencing that on a big scale,
Mm-hmm.
but I was seeing the seeds of where that came from for the first time. Because as a single person, I was like, oh, all these lucky married people, like they're so resentful of their spouse. Must be hard to have someone who lives with you and likes you. And I made it
Yeah.
that simple. And then when I encountered like the reality of being married to a whole nother person who is a whole other person, not a sidekick or like,
Yeah.
or, they're not a supporting character on my TV show. Like they're a real whole being.
Yeah.
And living like intimately and authentically with them creates, I don't know, like there are tensions and problems to solve and questions to answer. And I was just starting to see the seeds of where those like towering trees of resentment get planted. And I was like, I don't want to live that way. And I don't want to be on a roller coaster emotionally as I try to figure out how to do this in a healthy long term way. And so Lindsay actually and I had already been working because we had met, and then I told her about my business, and then she was like, I want to hire you. And I was like, I'll take your money. Let's go. I had been working with her on like figuring out the messaging for her website and what the whole meaning behind her work was as I figured out what her logo should be together with her and all this stuff. And I was like, this is the real deal. Like what Lindsay is talking about, what she's passionate about, the things she wants to communicate to people is so important, and I think would make a big difference in many people's lives. And after a while I was like, I think this would make a big difference in my life. And so I was lucky enough to get to be part of the first group course that she did. And it was just so helpful. I was so thankful that we met like almost by chance, like who would have
Mm-hmm.
known that now this like partnership and friendship has been so beneficial. But yeah, so that's kind of where it started. I was seeing that this was more complicated than I thought it would be. I was like, I'm so mature. I know myself. I've lived on my own. So going and getting married to this other grown person who's mature and self-possessed and like all these nice things will be so simple and easy, and will prove everyone wrong about how hard marriage is. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see now a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I remember you having that moment where you're like, also, is this something I can maybe do with you? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. So it was cool to be able to, as I already said, kind of blend like the professional,
Mm.
personal coaching, all of that together. Because it just encapsulates just like more, I guess, sides of a person, which is always awesome. But being able to just have even just amazing women that went through this first round, like the first course ever with me to give me all this feedback and just like
Yeah, it was
showing
a
up.
good group.
Yeah, it was a great group, just like vulnerable and showing up, just like laying their hearts on the line, like, man, yeah, this is me, this happens, or it just happened to me today or this week. Like, this is a struggle or this is a win. We had tears shed, like all the things. So it was really amazing. Um, but okay, so that's kind of how you realize, okay, maybe I should consider doing this course. Maybe there's a lot more to it. Than maybe you realize, and then you were freshly married for the most part, so just as we all know, that's always a fun stage, and it continues to grow, and there's highs and lows and more layers to the onion, if you will. um, but yeah, so in your marriage, would you say, before, beyond the fact of like seeing this resentment grow, where you and Sean are at before you went to this course and went through everything, like, would you
Yeah.
say, like, how did it feel in your marriage? Did you feel like you guys had good communication? Did you feel like, like, were there like main things going on as far as like
Yeah.
struggles and not like specifics, but you know what I
No,
mean? Like,
yeah.
how did it just feel in general?
Well, so first of all, I'll tell anybody this. I really do feel like we've comparatively to a lot of other stories that I've heard and a lot of other friends that I've talked to, I think that me and Sean have had a pretty relatively easy start to our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think like a lot of people were like, "Oh, that first year is so terrible. It's so hard." And honestly, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like it I don't know. It's not like our life has been super, super easy. And so, and, I mean, I had just lost a job right before we got married. Like there was just a lot of stuff going on. And so,
Yeah.
but still it felt oh, this is easier than I thought it would be at first. And I'm really thankful for that. Like, cause a lot of people have horror stories, but, I think what started to become clear to me as I realized that I needed a little bit of help, and coaching was a good answer for that. Um, how how much I had focused the marriage on him, if
Mm.
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I even looking back and like looking through the notes because I was looking through the notes that I took during the course before while prepping to be on your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, oh, there are so many things that I had just kind of internalized, whether through a more legalistic interpretation of my faith that I held in the past, and other people still do, and but just there was a lot where I was kind of facing my marriage like, I'm here to. I'm so lucky that I met him. He's so amazing. I want to make this easy on him.
Mm.
Like I want my marriage to be easy on my husband. I want it to be joyful for him. I want him to feel so like blessed and happy and thankful that he got married to me. And like those aren't necessarily bad things to think or feel,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like I was taking myself and my experience and my needs out of the equation.
Yeah.
And that's where I think some of those seeds of resentment started to like come through.
Yeah.
So then anytime, and we didn't have a lot of conflict. We would go weeks or months without having a big fight, like maybe little things. And, I figured out where my sensitivities were, or my, uh, what's the word that I can't think of?
Like triggers?
Triggers maybe, or
Okay.
insecurities, like those
Okay.
things would
Yeah.
pop out and there'd be a little bit of tension, but it would resolve, and it would be
Yeah.
fine. But whenever there was a big fight, there were all these big emotions that came with it and came through, and it always led to like these deeper explorations of like issues that I had or he had, and we were trying to figure it all out together. And so like whenever those things did happen, I felt this burden that I had to make our fight easy on him. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had to take ownership, not just of my part, but of ownership of the whole situation and smooth
Yeah.
things over so that like if I had been better, we wouldn't have had this fight. Or if I was more confident and didn't have this insecurity, I wouldn't have felt this tension. Or if I had just solved this problem before he got there. And I realized that that was a stance I had taken not just in my marriage, but in many other areas of my life, including like the job I had in ministry or even relationships within my family. where I just took on the burden
Yeah.
of making it easy on the other person instead of recognizing that my needs were also valid.
Yeah.
So I think that's where I was starting to see those like cracks begin to form, where those some of
Hmm.
those ideas. And so coming into your course, I don't think I even realized exactly that that's what was happening. I
Yeah.
think I was like, yeah, I'm starting to see some of these things, and I think this kind of coaching that Lindsay has to offer could help me. And like, you don't know what you don't know when you
Yeah.
don't know it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was. I was like, I know I need some support. I need some help. I need to grow. And now looking back, I'm like, oh, that's exactly. I can see where the cracks begin to form. And I'm
Hmm.
so glad that I took, like I said, yes to your course
Hmm.
so that I
Hmm.
could learn how to fix them like ground up,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
no
No.
band-aid.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that. I think you hit on so many like great points, but also very common
Hmm.
things when anyone is struggling with anxious attachment, like the concept, like the very, very base minimum that we talked about in the course, but it's like you grew up maybe expecting things like a shoe to drop, essentially, or like maybe your caregivers were inconsistent as far as their ability to provide love, to provide support, stability. Maybe they weren't very good at regulating their own
Hmm.
emotions, those types of things. So, anyways, as a child, we because of that, we're always anxious and waiting for like what's next, but we also try to control that. And
Yeah,
so what we
so much.
learn, especially in, it's, I'm not saying this is how it actually is intended, but it happens a lot in church backgrounds, ministry
Yeah.
backgrounds, where it's like, your purpose is just to serve, turn the other cheek, and like your
Oh
needs
yeah.
just shouldn't matter at all. And I don't think that's the intent of
No.
scripture
No
or
one
Jesus or
meant
anything
to
like
make
that.
me feel that way. Like
No, and
that
even
wasn't
if they
anyone.
did, that's their problem.
Yeah, agreed.
Maybe that's happened.
I'm not going
Um,
to take ownership of that for them. So.
yeah, yeah, but I guess the point is that like that is a really common. Like we try to control, we want to maintain the security, good vibes, like positivity of a relationship in order to what we think make sure that that person doesn't leave us. So we do whatever we can to make sure that they're happy. And we've learned over time, whether through our caregivers, our, experiences with other partners, church bosses, whatever, you kind of, a lot of times we will come up with this idea of like, I got to make them happy. And the smaller I make myself, the easier it will be. Like if I
Literally, yes.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I have needs and I have triggers and I have things that I'm going through, but like it's going to make that person upset or maybe I'm like being too much or whatever. So it's like I'm just going to not talk about that. I'm not going to feel about that. And if I just make sure you're happy, then like my stuff doesn't really matter. But like you
Yes.
said, that's not how that works. Like
Yeah.
it
Well,
literally
and
gets
that also
worse.
it creates this really weird like savior like self, like this overinflated sense of self where it's like I am strong enough to take this on
Yeah.
and I can handle the difficulty of this moment. And that's just not true. Like I crumble under that kind of pressure. Like
Yeah.
like yes, I can do hard things. Like yes, I'm smart and capable and strong, but oh my
Hmm.
goodness, why was I trying to soldier through that by myself when I'm married to a guy who is competent and kind and loves me? Like, that's so
Right.
silly. But I didn't see it that way, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like that's the other thing is like we think that our needs don't matter. And that's why I remember asking that question in the chorus where I'm like, tell me why other people's needs are more important than yours. Like just like convince me on the spot like why that is. And like everyone was like uh
Yeah.
silence.
They're like, no one look at each other.
It's an honest question, but like for
Right.
real. Like
Yeah,
why is that? Why do we think that it's like
absolutely.
you deserve to be listened to. You deserve to be validated. Like you deserve to, have me do whatever it takes to make you feel okay. But like I should not expect or ask for that on my side. And that's such
Right.
an interesting, coping strategy that we have and it's really
Oh, yeah.
fascinating. But anyways, so that makes sense though that where you guys are at, you know, you were trying to make things best for Sean as possible.
Yeah.
That
I
does
mean, 'cause
cause
I love
resentment
him,
over time.
you
Of
know?
course, you love them. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. And again, that's where the positive comes into, where
Right.
it's like we tend to be very aware of other people's energy,
Yeah.
emotion, their mood, and like that I feel is like a little bit of a superpower sometimes. However, then we try to control it, and like there's ways to
Yeah.
like use this superpower where it's positive and not negative.
Yeah.
But sounds
Well,
like
and I
you,
feel
yeah,
really thankful too. Thank you for letting me interrupt you again.
of course.
That Sean has the integrity that in those spaces where I was vulnerable to that and where I was like giving off that energy that like I'll just do whatever it takes to make this okay. He didn't
Yeah,
take advantage of that. He didn't take advantage of me. He didn't manipulate that situation because I've been in other scenarios, not in a marriage context, but in other relationships where I was like I've it's up to me to do whatever it takes to make this okay and people were like absolutely right. Thank you so much. Like, and
yeah,
that's so unhealthy and unfair. And I'm so thankful. Like like every relationship obviously is a two-way street. So I'm so glad that I've been able to walk through what I've been learning here, like with your course and everything attached, but also that I have a partner who is listening for that and supportive of me. So I definitely like I want to say that I'm lucky because not every
yeah,
person, fights through this and then finds a safe space to be on the other side of it either. So
yeah,
I'm
for
grateful.
sure. Well, good. I'm
Yeah,
glad. Sean's great.
the best.
Great guy.
Right.
Um, okay, so you start the course. You kind of had the idea, like once you learn more about it, you're like, okay, I should probably do this. I don't exactly know, like maybe the root yet of like what's going on, but I'm gonna like just go ahead and take this plunge and just like see what I can learn from it, type of thing.
Mhm.
Um, when you started going through the course, and I again, it's like 6 weeks, but was there at least one aha moment you can think of that was like, oh my gosh, like that you learned about that was just like, this is blowing my mind as far as anxious attachment and me and everything else, you know?
Yes. I had written down when I was looking through my notes, this jumped out at me
Hmm.
that finally was able to articulate a belief, and it was pretty early on. I think it was like week 2, week 3.
Okay, yeah,
And I think some of this came from like I was primed to think this way, not because of anyone's malicious intent,
right.
but when you come from a big family and there are
Hmm.
so many people all the time in the same vehicle, in the same home, around the same dinner table, there are a ton of needs present. And depending on what's going on, you may or may not be the most important attention needer at that time.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
like I was raised to think so much more about the whole and the group, what's best for the group, not necessarily what's best for me, which isn't a bad thing to learn, but it
Right.
hindered a lot of my personal understanding of myself and what I needed in my growth. And I just became ready to if there was a situation, if there was a hard person that needed to be dealt with, if there was a hard, like if someone needed to go without in a situation, I was ready to sign up and be like, I can go through this, I can be the hero, I can go without. I don't need this. Everyone else can get it because of
Yeah.
me, like, and feel good about myself and like all that stuff. But there was a situation I had been in an unhealthy work scenario at one point where someone else needed a ton of effort that wasn't fair and wasn't like it just wasn't right. Like, and I literally had processed. Let me find it so I say word for word in my notebook. But like I had this like idea in myself that like if somebody needs to be the doormat in this scenario, it might as well be me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if someone's going to get walked all over in this scenario, then why not me? Because I can take it. I can deal
Yeah.
with it. I'll be the doormat for this, like, bad work situation.
Yeah.
And that was such a striking, like, it just blew my mind that I had accepted that.
Mm-hmm.
And I had accepted that, obviously not in my marriage relationship as far as I understood yet, but I had accepted it like in a like ministry context for work. And
Mm-hmm.
that bled through so much of my life and
Mm-hmm.
so many of my relationships where I was like, well, this is going to be hard for somebody. So I'll just be the bigger person and
Yeah.
I'll just let it be hard for me in my life. And then I'll like grow so much more and I'll push so much further and I'll be able to like stand in this hard place for this time so no one else has to. And
Yeah.
I just made myself this martyr victim for no reason,
Yeah.
for no reason. That like yes, lessons learned, but learned in such a hard and painful way. And
Yeah.
like yes, I helped people. Yeah, you know, like and I'm not saying that this applied to my whole job. I'm not saying that this, you know, but I'm saying that that idea in those difficult moments kind of created a precedent for me to follow in the future. So that then if my husband was having a selfish moment or if a friend of mine needed something spectacular that wasn't really that crossed a boundary, there were so many
Mm-hmm.
chances where all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I've already done this before. I've done this before, let me do it again."
Yeah.
Like it created a pattern for me to be like, "Oh, well if someone needs to like, you know, bridge the gap." And you know that like yeah, this is so dumb. But you know what the vision that comes to mind is in whatever of the like Avengers movies where Captain America is like holding onto a helicopter and holding onto like a building and he's like trying to like bridge the gap between the helicopter and a building and he's
Oh.
like ah! Like literally not physically possible or appropriate.
Yeah.
But like I it's like I was volunteering to be in that position all the time but for no reason.
Yeah.
For no reason. So like I didn't need to be walked all over. I didn't need to lay down all of my needs and forget them so that someone else can have a smoother experience. Like and so literally just that light bulb. I think it literally happened week 1 of your
Yeah.
course.
Mm-hmm.
And it like the very first class I wrote it down and I was like, "Oh my gosh, wait. That's not right." Because it also what it also does is it allows whoever was using people as walking mats
Mm-hmm.
to just continue.
Yeah.
You know, it creates a situation not just where I start a pattern where I'm like, "Oh, well, if it's going to be hard, I'll let it be, you know, it's I'll be there." But also that person just continues to get it like make situations more difficult than they need to be because no one has ever said like, "Hang on, it doesn't have to be this way."
Yeah.
Or if you're going to treat people this way, then I'm going to step away because I'm not going to be treated that way. Or, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
any of those
Mm-hmm.
scenarios which create a much healthier environment, not just for me, but for everyone. I could,
Yes.
I've, I could talk about it for a long time, but that was a huge light bulb moment, and it served me the whole rest of the course, and it's
Yeah.
still serving me now. Where I'm like, wait, wait, wait. Instead of saying, "Oh, it's just gonna be tough. I'll just grin and bear it." Like now, I'm like, well, why is it so tough? Like, is there a better way to do this?
Yeah.
Is there, you know, or is it that important that it needs to be done? Even like,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
there another way? Is there like it just has created an easier experience of so many other things
Yeah.
because I've allowed like an unnecessary difficulty to be set down because it's okay for me to not have to be forced to go through a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely. Yes.
so much, so many
What
things to
a
think about.
what a concept. What a
What
concept.
an
You know?
idea.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh,
But
wild.
I mean, I think I posted this on social media not too long ago, but
Yeah.
it's something that I've learned. I think I learned so you guys have been listening, you guys know, like I was previously engaged years ago to someone I'm not married to now, obviously. Caught him cheating 5 weeks before the wedding. It was like this whole terrible thing. And I immediately went into therapy and learned about codependency and anxious attachment, all those things. But I believe this is something I read in a Codependent No More book, possibly. If not, it's basically the concept of like people learn by experiencing the consequences of their
Mm,
actions. Like that is how children learn. That's how we all learn. Like, okay, if you touch the stove, you burn your hand, so don't do
yeah.
that. Like, but if you don't experience the consequences of your actions, you're not going to learn and you're probably not going to change either.
Yeah.
So the idea is like when we try to in a way, be the doormat if we try to like protect our loved ones from feeling any type of anything ever. Like if they are being selfish and we're like, no, it's fine, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like it come like you said, it's like seems like you're being a savior and being the bigger person, but what you're
Yeah.
really doing is number one, dismissing your own needs and respect as a human being who deserves respect
Yeah.
and boundaries, but also you are enabling that person to not learn and get any better and to change and evolve and grow, and that is important for their growth too, not just us. So it's really a two-way street, an all-encompassing type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I agree though. Like I remember telling same ex-fiance, terrible really. I mean, it was really just it was a very lonely relationship. It was
It's
very like
terrible.
I know, it was very I think I described it to my therapist one time as very detached. Like I felt like I attached myself to a ghost, like someone who wasn't actually there or present for
I
me
think I saw
ever.
that Hallmark movie. Yeah.
It's a good one. You should see it. um, but I remember telling my sister, I was like, someone has to be willing to be with this person, and it might as well be me. But like just that same idea of like, why? Like, really,
Yeah.
then maybe that person shouldn't be with anyone at all. Like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that opinion of like, if you can't be in a place to like show up and be like a present partner who's willing to work on yourself and do what's necessary to have a healthy relationship, you probably just shouldn't be in one at all. Not
Yeah.
because you don't deserve love, but because you need to learn and grow that
Yeah.
relationships take work and takes selflessness and
Yeah.
also taking care of yourself and all the things, as we
Yes.
know. So yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Amazing.
Okay, so moving right along. In the course, like we said, there's a lot of things we focus on in that. There's, I'm sure, many tools and practices that we talked about in there. But was there one that was especially helpful for you when it came to communicating with Sean? That you were like, this was a tool that I learned and that you
Mhm.
actually like practiced with him, whether
Mhm.
he was aware or not that you were doing it.
Yeah. No, I tried really hard to include him in what I was learning because I
Hmm.
was like, this is going to benefit and change our relationship. So I really want to make sure that, like, I'm at least giving him like a quick little, like, 5 minute update after our coaching
Yeah.
lessons it, because then if I made a big change, then for him, it wasn't coming out of nowhere. And I wasn't suddenly trying to therapize us, like I
Yeah.
wanted it to be like a mutual growth and understanding. And what was so fun is because of our different strengths and weaknesses in our relationship, there are a lot of things that I was learning and understanding for the first time. And he was like, well, yeah. He was like, I didn't realize you weren't thinking that way already. And
Okay.
I was like, wow, this is crazy. It was so helpful. But I think that you gave us, so in the course,
Yeah.
after each lesson or discussion or video chat or whatever, you would always send us some homework to do.
Hmm.
And it was like things to think about, things to write down, things that like here's a mantra for you to like keep in mind, and like super super helpful. And I've gone back several times to several different of those like homework sheets,
Hmm.
and especially whenever there's been like big overwhelming feelings that I wasn't sure like what to do about or even what they were.
Yeah.
So, like, you just gave us several different sets of tools that helped me so much, like, understand myself better and then
Hmm.
learn how to communicate those things better.
Yeah.
So, I know I'm not giving you anything super specific, but, like, truly, I feel like there have been multiple times where I've gone back and been like, oh, I'm so glad she emailed those things to us because it's in my inbox. And I can reopen that document that she sent and go through that practice again. And I've done that several times with literally several different ones. The
Yeah.
one I most recently opened up was the very last one where you talked about values.
Hmm.
And because me and my husband, we had an opportunity come up that could mean a change, and that we weren't sure whether to take the opportunity or not. And so we had a family meeting at our favorite little taqueria down the street, and just the two of us because that's our family. The cat didn't need to come to the family meeting, so it was fine.
Not this time.
Yeah, not this time. But we went to the taqueria and sat down, and I brought my little notebook and pen, and like we were able to talk about like our what our values for us moving forward were. And I was like, I am so thankful, literally, because some of the things that came through this course for me was understanding myself and what I actually want and what's
Mm-hmm.
really important to me, and then
Mm-hmm.
being able to articulate it in those moments, because I used to be a very slow processor and very internal. And like I said earlier, like when I was single, I just did whatever, whenever, and it didn't matter. And I never had to articulate it to myself or anyone else. And so I have leaps and bounds grown in my ability to talk to my husband about what I'm feeling, what I want,
Mm-hmm.
where I want us to go next, and create discussions, because he's always been very comfortable talking about what he wants and what he feels. He like just
Uh-huh.
very quickly, intuitively knows what he's feeling, what he's wanting.
Yeah.
And for me, like getting there and then figuring out how to articulate, because I could feel the vibe grow, and then the vibe would become words, and then the words became spoken, and like it just took so long for me to understand myself and to say those things to him. And so I'm just like literally just having like a list of emotions to name, a list of values to like define for myself. Like
Yeah.
those worksheets were so helpful and have massively shifted. I might be jumping ahead, but like truly my ability to tell my husband this is what I want in literally any scenario. Like
Mm-hmm.
any scenario. Like if we're talking about dinner, vacation, if we're talking about the bedroom, if we're talking about literally anything.
Yeah.
I have shifted my ability to know what I want and ask for what I want. And then we can have an honest, authentic discussion right away
Yeah.
about what to do next, instead of like waiting for me to process my feelings and then come
Mm.
back to it, which was a little bit triggering for him. Like
Yeah.
as he waited for me to process and then return, like that
Yeah.
was not, that's rough. Like poor guy, he had to put
Yeah.
up with that a lot during
Yeah.
our first year.
Mhm.
So, and that it's just crazy how immediately helpful those tools were. Immediately helpful.
Yeah.
And now I call back to them regularly. So,
Yeah.
but more and more they're becoming like muscle memory. So,
Love that. That's
big,
fantastic.
big
There
fan.
was, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I'm trying to remember. I think
Hmm.
this is a testimonial that you sent me, but it was like a text, like in the middle of the course.
Hmm.
And you said, I'm going to read it because I didn't give you a heads
Yeah,
up,
read
but
it.
you said like, you texted me like the next day about like an argument or a situation that you and Sean had gotten into like the night before. And you were like, you were in an argument and you're like, wait, even though I was imperfect here, I still have some needs that are not being met and he's hurting me, so I need to say something. And then you said in less than an hour, like maybe 30 minutes max, you guys talked through it. You're both feeling at peace, even though it still took some time for feelings to chill, and then you were able to go to bed in unity and wake up happy to see each other. Was
Oh
that
yeah.
like a new thing for you guys? Like, how did that
Oh
used to
yeah.
go?
Yeah, so before like something like he would say something that would trigger some sort of like insecurity.
Yeah.
Or, like I had to apologize to him about it the other day. So I'm not going to say that I'm perfect.
Yeah.
But like especially if I felt like he was being disrespectful.
Hmm.
If I felt like he was talking down to me like a child, or like a big fight like 2 weeks into marriage, was he was like, are you gonna refill that Brita filter? And I was like, do you think I'm a child? Of course I'm gonna refill the Brita. I can't believe you even felt like you needed to tell me to refill. And I took this little like funny flirty joke made it into this huge fight because I wasn't in complete understanding of my triggers and my
Yeah.
insecurities. And so things would happen sometimes like that, where I would take a small thing and make it so stupidly big, or he would say something and it wouldn't sit right with me. And instead
Mm.
of me like jumping up to defend myself, I would be like, "Oh, wait, that doesn't feel right." And I would like shrink down and put a wall up and kind of back off and go like curl up on the corner of the couch and like think. And
Yeah.
and I was trying, and if I was mad or hurt, I would have trouble thinking straight while he was still in the room.
Yeah.
Not because he was doing any like I mean, he has never on purpose hurt me, which
Right.
so glad. That's great, you know.
Yeah.
So like there's no but I was just like had such loud emotions in my brain I couldn't think straight, and so
Yeah.
sometimes I'd be like, well, we live in an apartment complex that has a nice little garage, parking garage, and I could go up to the top of it and like take loops, and it has a nice little view of our little downtown area. Like it's so cute. And so like there would be times where I'd be like, I'm gonna go upstairs to the parking garage. And he would be like, why are you walking out? You know, like for
Yeah.
him, that
Mm-hmm.
was so scary and sad. And I was like, I just need to clear my mind and think, you know,
Yeah.
like, and for him, that was an escalation. And for me, it was like a calm down time so I can get my
Yeah.
thoughts straight. And we just saw things like that from two different points of view. And it like, it would just take time because then as I took time to process my feelings and to figure out what I wanted, then he would have all these fears and thoughts come up, you know, for him, where this conflict was creating like hurts for him. So in the midst of our conflict where I was like, you hurt my feelings, but I need to go think about it over there, then he's feeling hurt and abandoned.
Yeah.
And then I would come back and it would be worse.
Yeah.
And I mean, we would be more like further down the road because I would have words to say for the first time about
Right.
it. But
Mm-hmm.
it was just like prolonged and messy. And so that's why I'm so glad we didn't fight very often, because when we did, I was just like, this is not going well. Like, all the rest of us is going so well, but some
Yeah.
of these things were just hard to deal with. And again, I had been single, like meaningfully single, my whole adult life, and was struggling so much to share those vulnerable, like it's so intimate, it's so vulnerable to share yourself with a spouse authentically
Yeah.
and 24/7 and in the same space, and I was just really struggling to
Yeah.
be like fully myself and fully like the safety that existed in the marriage I was struggling to feel, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
so I would just shrink and disappear and process, and it took forever and it was not great. So
Yeah. So being able to like process faster,
oh my
validate
god,
your needs quicker, be able to articulate how you're feeling, just like,
game changer.
yeah, change kind of like the way that I'm sure the conversation or argument even
Yes.
went at that point. Yeah.
Yes. And so now whenever there's a big discussion, it's about much less frivolous things than a Brita filter or
Yeah.
whatever. And if it does take some time, even like cuz we're complicated people. You
Yeah.
know, like we have complicated stories and families and backgrounds and hopes and dreams, and so like you know, sometimes our values clash or our opinions clash or whatever. And but now those conversations are so much easier, so much like more immediate, and I'm able to like I don't know, going through this course not only helped me understand myself, it also helped me think about him and
Yeah.
his stories and his background and what he
Hmm.
must feel. So it created this deeper understanding for his attachment style
Yeah.
and what he needs in that moment,
Hmm.
and trying to honor both of our needs and both of our feelings in that it just I suddenly had tools for something I didn't even have words for
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
So game changer.
I love that. That reminds
Yeah.
me, I think we talked about that a lot in the conflict resolution side of things
Mm,
because in order to have like more what's the right word? Just like I don't know.
effective
Yeah,
or
like effective conflict, just like where
hmm
you're actually getting something done is like
yeah,
knowing yourself, but yes.
productive.
Yeah, yes, productive because and I tell myself this all the time, or I try to remind myself of it whenever an opportunity arises where it's like observing a situation or a conversation as a third party. Like instead of being
Yeah.
in the feels of like, how does this affect me and what am I feeling? Like, which
Yes.
is human and it's going to happen. But anytime you can like step out and be like, okay, we're on the same team. We love each other.
Yes.
The reason why he's triggered is because of this, because I know this about him. The reason why I'm triggered is because he did this or did not do this.
Yes.
And that is why this is happening. It's not
Yeah.
like, I feel like maybe
It's
with
like
all people.
neutrality.
Yeah, it's
Neutrality
like,
in that position.
yes, I feel like when you're operating like very heavily in your attachment style, it's kind of like do or die, like everything's kind of on the line. And so when
Yes.
arguments
Everything's an
happen,
emergency.
yeah, like when you're in an argument, it's like, are we gonna break up? Like, is Jared gonna leave? That happened not too long ago with Jared. Like, I can't. He got in an argument or whatever, and he like it was calm. It wasn't even emotional. He just like told me. I don't even remember what it was about anymore. But he was like, "This is how I'm feeling, and I'm upset by this," which is a big growing point for him
Love
that
it.
we've learned over our 4 years. But I remember like I took it and I was like, I think some of it had to do with like how my actions and what I had done, and I was just like. I just feel like you're just not happy with me anymore. Like, maybe it'd be easier if you were just single. Like, and I think that way a
Mm.
lot. That's like a big fear of mine. And he was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "No, it wouldn't be. Like, being single was not great. Like, I hated it. Like, this is so much better than anything I had before. And like, I'm
Mhm.
not going anywhere. I want to be with you forever. Like, I'm just upset and you upset me." And I'm like, okay. Like,
I love though. I like you were
yeah.
able to say this is what I'm afraid of. Because there
Yes.
were so many, I was like, I don't want to be the drama. Am I the drama? Like I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
want to say those big scary things. But
Yeah.
but for you to have the courage to know that you're afraid of that, to say that you're afraid of that, and then
Hmm.
for him to be able to respond and be like, no, that's not the situation. Like that
Yeah.
is so beautiful to me. Like that is I like because we all get those intrusive thoughts, you know?
Yes. Yes. And even when you're aware of it, and even when you're working on it, and even if you're coaching people in it, it's like it's still part of your life. And it's like you said, noticing the progress, like
Yeah.
noticing as we move forward, like it really does. These are little steps that do build up into more. I can't remember the word you said. Um, oh, not pattern. You said something like it's like changed, like how things are for you
Oh,
now.
it
It's
set a
like
precedent, maybe,
maybe, I don't
or
know. You
yeah,
said something, but it made sense.
yeah.
Anyways, when you were doing it as a group course,
Hmm.
like, how was that experience to be in a group setting versus like if it was one on one or if you were just like using Chat GPT or Google to like
Yeah,
educate
yeah.
yourself on this
Oh
topic?
my
Like,
gosh.
what was that
It
like?
was so helpful. So first of all, I believed in it so much before I even took it, and I was proven right, by the way, that I convinced my best friend to do it with me.
Hmm.
So I called my bestie and was like, I want us to go through this course together. And because anxious attachment applies to everyone, everywhere, all the time. She lives in a different state. She has a different job. She's single. And so we've walked through a lot of singleness together. And then
Hmm.
she's been an incredible friend and cheerleader as I've walked into marriage. And so we're like different life stages, but have gone through a lot of similar things. And, um, completely different families, like lots of similarities between our families, but different issues. So,
Yeah.
like just all these different things that are, you know, different about us. And she walked through it with me. And then we had several other people in the group course, obviously, that all also. So there was another single person, there was another married person, all kinds of different jobs and families. And one of the other married person has kids, and I don't have kids, So there's all these different things.
Yeah.
And so walking through the course with this whole crew of people was so beneficial because it allowed me to see how the principles apply
Yeah.
across the board. So, for single people who are looking at their anxious attachment, there's so much to learn about your family of origin, your workplace. I mean, for me, it would massively shifted how I work as well as just my marriage, and
Yeah.
my sibling relationships,
Hmm.
my close friendships, like all of these things. It applies in all of these places. So, I was getting to hear different people's stories. I was getting to hear who truly was anxious attachment, and then people who were like, "Oh, I might have this." What is it when it's like chaotic?
Like
Is
disorganized.
disorganized? Yes,
Hmm.
and they're like, "Oh, sometimes I'm very anxious attachment for these relationships, but I think in these relationships it's way more of like a disorganized attachment style." And like it was so cool to learn along with a group of people who have different stories, different relationships, different
Hmm.
lives, and because sometimes they would say something and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that applies to me. Everything you just said is my life." Whereas I might have not immediately. I was like, "Oh, that's good, but it doesn't connect with me." And then they would be like, "Oh no, that's me. That's my life." And then I would be like, "Oh wait, there's more there than I realized," because listening to them unpack that like
Mm-hmm.
helped me learn in a deeper way, because I'm a verbal processor, as we can tell by the length of this interview. Um, and so I was so thankful to hear other people out loud speak about what they were learning in the course. It added a ton of value and richness. And now, literally was texting with my friend the other day and was like, anxious attachment course. And like we were literally talking about how to apply what we learned together
Yeah.
in a new life scenario. So big fan of how that went.
Love that. I
Yeah.
didn't really think about it like from that perspective. Like if you're attending and we did have someone who was single, we did
Yeah.
have someone who was married with kids. Like we had like a range of age, but also life stage. And I
Yes.
think it does apply whether you're out there and you're
Oh yeah.
single and dating, or you're not dating, or you're married, or you have little ones. Like it shows up in all those relationships, just maybe a little
Yeah.
differently. So yeah, that's so true. I didn't think
It was
about that.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, great. And I also love it from a group perspective because you get to hear other people's stories, but it's a way for all of us to engage and learn together, because a lot of
Yeah.
times, odds are a lot of you guys might have had the same situations or questions that you might have had on something. And so
Yeah.
it just kind of give everyone a chance to be like, oh, that was a question I didn't think of, or oh, okay, that's interesting. And then, like you said, based on
Yeah.
other people's experiences, like, oh, okay, I can see that happening. Whether that's me or my spouse does that, or yeah, my
Yeah.
sister does that. It's like, it
Yes.
makes, I think it makes everyone feel not alone and feel human. And like you guys are like on equal, like we're all equal playing ground, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like there is no hierarchy. We're all people just
Right.
like figuring it out, which is great.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Getting towards the end here, at least with my questions I wanted to kind of tackle, but after you went through all of it, in the course, like how would you say your relationship with yourself has changed
Ooh.
since?
Yeah. No, that's so good. I Why did that make me feel so emotional suddenly? I think I had allowed myself to be really small for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I even had applauded myself for that
Hmm.
and celebrated my ability to forget myself.
Hmm.
And, and I had attributed those things to humility and, like not asking for too much or not being too much for other people, and thought that all those things were just good.
Yeah.
And man, I think that by forcing myself to be small, was missing out on so much.
Hmm.
And um, I remember laughing at a friend of mine because I am expressive and I tend to get excited about things, and like food is a love language for me. So I remember at an old coworker at an old place of work one time, someone had brought in some free food for us, and I was like, "This is the best day. I'm having such a good day. Now this free food is here." And she looked at me and she was like, "Sarah, I want more for you than this."
Hey, whoa.
I thought she was being like, I thought she was taking me being a little bit silly and being, like kind of, I don't know. I don't know what I thought, but I was like, oh my gosh, whatever. And man, I feel so emotional about this. I really think that I didn't want very much for myself.
Yeah.
And I was willing to accept far less
Yeah.
than what I could have. And I say this as a I know in a lot of Christianity people really try to like say, well, it's good for us to be really small, and and yes, like, yeah, but God, eh, for me, God made me
Hmm.
with desires and wants and needs, And I have, stumbled into places where I needed help, and stumbled into places where I've been hurt, and been in all these different scenarios where like I didn't feel treasured, and I didn't feel important, or listened to or heard. And I accepted it,
Yeah.
like I accepted all of that for myself for a really long time, and just as part of the difficulty of life.
Yeah.
And I think this course in 12 weeks kind of held my hand a little bit and walked me through to a space where the values that I hold, the strengths that I have, like especially that week 6 was so powerful. But just like recognizing that my needs, my questions, the things I was curious about or excited about, or like, or the places where I've been hurt, they deserve attention.
Yeah.
And they carry value. And my full value doesn't come in just how well I can serve other people,
Yeah.
but in my existence.
Right.
Like if I can be myself and flourish as myself as a whole person, that's worth celebrating.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I think maybe I could have BS, like said it and not really felt it, maybe.
Yeah.
And walking through all of this and recognizing that I was completely ignoring my needs,
Yeah.
and thinking that that was the right thing to do,
Yeah.
instead of honoring myself and my body and my feelings, and knowing that when I can enter a space as a whole person in abundance and confidence, how much more, first of all, glorifying to the God that I worship when I can be my full and whole and healthy self. So even as a Christian, I can say, yes, my needs deserve time and care and honoring, because then I can be myself.
Yeah.
Who God created me to be, to enter that space. But also for my friendships, for my work, for my marriage. And I think my marriage is the biggest place where it shows up, where when I ask for something that I need or something that I want and I get it, and I'm like, the delight that I feel and the joy that exists, and or even saying like, no, I don't want that right now. And it being safe for me to
Yeah.
say that, and for that to not be a problem, because I knew like what I want and what I care about. There's so much freedom there, and it's completely guilt free.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had realized how much I had assigned this like moral value to my smallness.
Yeah.
And now like just giving myself, and maybe even just like the investment of time and money into this course just for me, like that alone does a little thing in my brain where I'm like, this is just from, like, yes, it will benefit my marriage, but also this is for me. And yes,
Yeah.
it will benefit my workplace and my friendships and my family, but like this is for me.
Yeah.
Like my anxious attachment is hurting me, and it doesn't have to. There's no
Yeah.
reason. So I don't know. Like my sense of self has, and not, this course isn't the only thing. Like there are other like books I've read and people I've talked to,
Sure.
but like this was so foundational.
Yeah.
And it was probably the biggest investment I've ever made for myself.
Yeah.
Like I 100%, I took hours of my day, yes, you gave us that like video course, video chat that was live with the group every other week, but also like the homework that you gave and the check-in that you would check in with us, and on the off weeks, and just see how we were doing and where we were at. Like the time that I took to learn and to shift how I saw myself and how I treated myself
Yeah.
was so hugely instrumental in changing my life.
Yeah.
And all the other pieces and people in my life. So yeah, definitely definitely a different. Before we started this recording, and I told you I was flipping back through my notes in my notebook and the things that I wrote down in the first few weeks, and I was like, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
And this was only like 6 months, 8 months ago, something like that I took this course. And I'm a different person. And I think the investment that I made in myself through this course is a massive, massive piece
Yeah.
of that shift.
I love that. Ugh. little baby emotions in the background as I'm hearing. Anytime any of y'all share
Mm,
any of this, it's like
yeah.
that that is the goal. Like
Ugh.
that is why I wanted to do a coaching
Yeah.
business at all and focus on healing anxious attachment because of that. Like
Yeah.
I will remind myself like I want women to know they're worthy and valuable like as an existing human being, like not based on
Yes.
our physical body size or what we know
Yes.
or what we do, but just existing.
Yeah.
And then also experiencing like genuine love and security and stability and like
Yeah.
joy in our relationships and just being our authentic selves. Like these are like if I could go to my grave and be like, this is what I want women to know, like
Yeah.
it's amazing to hear that because of course my job is a supporting role. Like here's the information, here's the homework, this is what I encourage you to do, but like you or anyone has to do the work on your own to actually see the change. And you did that, you know? It's like,
Mm.
it's one thing to show up and hear something or read something and be like, oh, that's interesting. But to actually do it takes a lot of bravery and
Yeah.
vulnerability because you have to face the pain that we try to avoid
Yes.
and cope around. Like,
Oh
that's
my
the part
gosh.
we have to face. But it pays off. It's
Oh
like,
yeah.
it gets better, you
It
know?
is so worth it. Well, and that's what it is. There were times where you would write a question down in the homework or where you would like leave us at the end of the video chat with like consider this or thinking about this, and I was like I don't want to do that.
Good to
Literally,
know.
there were
Cool.
multiple times where I was like, "Oh, I that's we're in danger territory here." like,
Mm-hmm.
but I am so glad. It is so worth it to face those things that make me feel afraid. And there were times I was like, I don't know what I'm going to uncover here. I don't know. I don't,
Yeah.
and I have some relationships that have shifted and boundaries that have changed. And like and that some of that has been hard, but specifically, I think you and I had a really such a powerful follow up after the course was over,
Mm-hmm.
and you and I had a one on one session, and there are some things that I'm so grateful that after getting to know all these things about me during the course, you were able to say some things to me that no one had ever said to me before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really, I think you posed them all as questions. I think you just asked me if you like, do
Yeah.
you think that when this happened or this person said this or when whatever, do you think that that was appropriate for your relationship? Or, and I was just like, like no one has that. I've never, like the earth underneath me was like, but it was so healing and helpful and educational and your perspective. Like I know that you're like, oh, I'm just giving you the opportunity of the education, but like your voice specifically for me like created opportunities for me to re-examine some really unhealthy patterns or things that I just accepted or
Yeah.
relationships that needed a shift, and it was so powerful for me. So yeah.
Love that. I'm glad I could help and do that and impact in a positive way. So, yes.
Same.
Also, I see Holland in the reflection behind you. Holland is her
Yep.
cat, by the way.
There she is. She just jumped up on our little tower.
She's an adorable little girl.
Love her.
Okay. What would you say to anyone who is maybe nervous or considering doing the Healing Anxious Attachment course and joining it? Like, what would you say to them and their concerns or, I don't know,
Mhm.
anything?
Um, I would say, man, I think you might have said this to us at the beginning of the course, but this is it's kind of like therapy where like you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
Like if you like you handed us a ton of information and education and knowledge and you have experience and other you've coached other people and have been able to, bring that into the just I don't know, you carried a lot of wisdom in. But I had to be willing to take myself seriously.
Mm.
And man, I can't believe I haven't actually just broken down crying. Like this feels so like there's so many emotions here for me because it is that personal to me and it feels so serious for me because I think I didn't take myself seriously enough to invest in myself.
Yeah.
And or I had maybe both are true. I had an overinflated view of myself that I could solve all my own problems eventually.
Yeah.
So why spend the money
Right.
or why take the time?
Yeah.
And both of those things were untrue. Like, yeah, like I have good people around me and good book recommendations sitting on my bookshelf. So yeah, there are things that I could have learned and done.
Yeah.
But like the way the structure of this course was set up allowed me to step into a space um, where the investment could take root
Yeah.
and make a difference. And if I was willing to come and be vulnerable, be authentic, and try and be courageous, it took some courage. Like, especially if you're not sure that you're worth it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not sure that you're worth the investment, if you're like, well, people will always mistreat me, or, well, like, you don't know my family, or you don't know my husband, or you don't know, like, you don't know my work environment, or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you don't know. I'll just have to put up with this till I die. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'll just have to live with this person who's not treating me well, like until whatever next step. And for you to allow yourself, like, it's a hard thing to say, but there are many times where I've allowed myself to be hurt
Yeah.
and allowed myself to be mistreated. And I I had to walk through, and I'm now dealing with a little bit of the pendulum swing where I'm like, no one gets to treat me that way. Which is kind of comical. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But like to walk through that pendulum swing and come back to like a centered, safe, confident place of security.
Yeah.
Um it's an internal shift that no matter what your circumstances are,
Yeah.
changes your life.
Mm-hmm.
And living in the roller coaster of someone else's feelings, someone else's opinions about you,
Mm-hmm.
someone else's emotional, like, yeah, their whiplash doesn't have to be your neck pain.
Yeah. Wow.
Like,
Woo! Let's get a tattoo of that.
that's such a
Bumper
silly thing to get a
sticker.
tattoo.
I'm just saying.
But like that's what I think it is. Like I think that like this is an internal shift. So no matter what your circumstances are, even if you feel like you're tied to this circumstance forever,
Yeah.
you can learn to walk through it in a healthier way.
Yeah.
And you valuing yourself enough to learn how, because this is a skill issue. Sometimes I am mean and I make fun of someone by being like, it seems like a skill issue. Like, oh, you couldn't figure that out. But like sometimes it's a skill issue. And
Yeah.
that's not mean. Like that's not like me trying to insult someone to say, like ignorance isn't a moral failure. Choosing to stay
Mm.
ignorant is. And
Yes.
so, like, not knowing how to help yourself isn't a failure.
Yeah.
Like, not knowing what to do about your situation isn't like you being a weak person or like pathetic, or it just means you don't know.
Yeah.
So, when you come across the information that can change your life in those ways, like, it takes courage to take hold of that and to say yes. But
Yeah.
it is so worth it to gain the tools. So when things like this happen, you don't have to go through the skill issue anymore. It's
Right.
no longer a skill issue. Like
Yeah.
you can learn how to navigate that
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Yeah.
And so it is so worth it. But it takes courage. You have to believe that you're worth it. And
Mm-hmm.
when you sign up for it, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And someone who doesn't take it themselves seriously and someone who doesn't take the content seriously might show up to the video chats and skim the homework and not get a lot out of it and complain. But that is a skill issue, my friends.
Yeah.
So I say, if you're willing to see a shift happen so that
Mm-hmm.
when someone else's roller coaster is throwing you all around and you want to be secure and you
Yeah.
want to be stable in the midst of that,
Yeah.
it is so worth the investment and the
Yeah.
time and the money. Every piece is worth it.
Yes. Love that. And I was thinking about that the other day,
Mm,
when I was thinking about just like the core, like if I could boil down two things of like how to heal anxious attachment, I would say number one, it's understanding how that attachment came in the first point.
mm,
Understanding yourself, like what are your pain points? What are your survival skills? What are your coping mechanisms? Why
mm.
do you do that? Like that whole piece. The
Yeah.
other piece though is what you're saying is like you also have to, with that knowledge, understand that it is your responsibility to do something with that. Like,
Yeah. No
it,
one else is going to come fix that for you.
no.
Like, no.
Yeah. Like the responsibility piece of like, you're going to have to, like, and you'll hear people say this, like, you can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond to it, right? So it's like, it is that responsibility piece of like, this happened to me, but I was, cheated on and betrayed and all these things, and it was terrible. And it like almost took me out, all the things. But that doesn't mean that I get to show up in my marriage and treat my husband a certain way because of what
Right.
happened to me. Like,
Right.
I have to take responsibility and be like, okay, that happened, that was shitty, that was someone else's stuff. It was also
Right.
me, not standing up for my own boundaries, all the things. And it's
Yeah.
like, I got to learn how to be healthier. Like when you said, when other people in
Right.
life have their stuff going on, which will 100% happen until we die,
Always.
we can have the responsibility of like, I'm going to be accountable to me though. Like, how am I
Yes.
showing up? Am I
Yes.
taking care of my own needs? Am I communicating honestly with people? Like,
Right.
that is what it takes. If you want an
Oh, yeah.
authentic, healthy relationship, you have first have to be authentic yourself. You
Yes.
can't expect it from other people and be like
Yeah.
out in the dating scene, you're like, these people are trash, which there are a lot, there is some trash out there. I'm not
Yes. Yes, there is.
bless them. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, you also have to do the work. Like, you have to make sure that you're bringing your
Yeah.
best, honest self. And doesn't mean best in the sense of like, you don't make mistakes, you never have a bad day, or you're just like, whatever. It's just like, you're doing the heart work to
Yeah.
like heal. I think I have one other question and then we'll kind of wrap up here. Okay. So business. Let's talk about your business really fast
Yeah.
because I just want to hear a little bit more about like, or let them know, I know, but like, what do you do? What can you do for people? What are your like, creative things you're doing right now?
Yeah. So, Sarah Rosie Studios is the name of my
Hmm.
business, and I market myself as a branding photographer and designer.
Awesome.
My dream scenario is to walk up to someone who has a small business and is trying to do it all on their own and has a lot on their plate. And I can come up and say, "Hey, let's do a few things. Let's clarify your messaging. Let's level up your logo." I've done several where people had their own little Canva logos, and I was like,
Hmm.
let's make this the real deal. Like,
Yeah.
let's, as a designer, let me take the brand that you've already started to establish and let me make something that is whole.
Yeah.
So a whole brand identity. So just talking about what they do, the value they provide, the problems that they solve, who they can solve those problems for, and doing that in a way that adds a ton of clarity and helps other people immediately connect with what they
Yes.
do as a business owner and immediately understand why they should say yes to it. And
Yeah.
so I love to do that through graphic design, through photography is my absolute fave. There's so much that people don't realize they're communicating to their audiences without meaning to.
Yeah.
And so I love to bring that piece of education to say, hey, every photo you take, every font you use when you post on Instagram, like every sentence on your website, that all says something to your potential client base.
Yeah.
And so I want to help you get that really strong, clarified, so that people can, see who you are, what you do, and understand why it helps them immediately. Which always then usually ends up helping people find more clients and gives them words to say when they're telling people what they do
Yeah.
and all that. So because that's pretty wide ranging, usually I like to work with one client at a time and just kind of focus in on what their needs are and figure out what pieces of my expertise can serve them. So there are people I've done videos for, people I've done websites for, people I've
Hmm.
done, I did your logo. We worked really hard on that together and I
Yeah.
love how it turned out.
Yes.
So full of personality, but also
Hmm.
like classy. I love it. Love it,
Yeah.
love it. Really, I need to write a blog about your brand design and put it on my website because I'm proud of it. I think that was a
You
cool
should
experience.
be. It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that I do. I actually also I will do like piecemeal bits of this. So like there's a flower farm not too far from me that needed some photography work done, and I had the best 2 hours of my life going over there and taking photos of their gorgeous farm and the bouquets that they sell at markets and things like that. So that part of their brand is like helping people understand the visual identity of being a local family-owned flower farm that sells to people in our specific neighborhood. And so yeah, so stuff like that I love to do.
I love that. Yeah, she's
Mhm.
amazing. Even my website, if you guys ever check it out on there, or when you check it out, I should say,
Yeah,
she
when.
helped build that out and is amazing. So love it so much. And I think if this doesn't work, let me know. But if anyone books with Sarah after hearing this episode, you can use a code just like
Yes.
Life Coach Lynn's, or just let her know,
Yes.
like, hey, I know Life Coach Lynn's, listen to the episode 4 on the podcast, like, hey, and
Yes.
there'll be a 15%
Yeah,
discount
15.
on, is that on any service or,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, so I mean, it depends on how much you scale,
right,
but
right.
yeah, but 15%. So I have a code that is set up. So if you book photos, or I literally did like graphic design for a guy's business's flyer the other day, and I did a billboard for him a while back. And like if you have different things that you're needing for your business, and you need a creative who will understand you
Hmm.
and solve your unique problem and talk to your unique audience. That's my jam. So yeah, if you reach out to me, my website is sarahRosieStudios.com, and you can kind of see the work that I do there. And if you book with me using that Life Coach Lynn's uh, code, we'll give you 15% off. So
Woo!
there you go.
Yes. Okay, you guys hit up Sarah. She's incredible. She really is. You got to hear about her heart today, but just her business and what she does and her partnership ability is incredible. So definitely work with her on any of those needs. She's based in Texas, kind of North Texas area.
Hmm.
But I'm sure anything brand related or anything like that can be
Yeah,
done virtually
I
and
have
all that
clients all
stuff.
over. Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
great.
love that. Okay. Well, thank you, Sarah, for your time today. It was fantastic. Thank you for
Loved
being
it.
vulnerable and sharing just the ins and outs of your journey
Yeah.
and with your marriage. I know it's very personal and very vulnerable and takes a lot of bravery, so thank you for that. And I'm just excited. We have, like I said, that next round of the Healing Anxious
Yes.
Attachment group course. The live course starts on Thursday, September 18th. So
Mhm.
sign ups are going to open for that. But you guys make sure you sign up for it. If you have questions, shoot me a message, comment on this. And of course, if you know of anyone that you think would benefit from hearing about this course, benefit about learning the things that we talk about and overthink this with me, please share it. Consider giving us a 5-star review to get us more out there where more people can hear what we're talking about here. But
Mhm.
otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day wherever you are. And we'll be back next time. All right. Bye.